Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight for our pre-law information session. As many of you are aware, Syracuse is a very strong school for students like yourselves who are interested in going to law school after your undergraduate degree. My name is Rachel Skipper. I'm the Assistant Director of Undergraduate Recruitment for the College of Arts and Sciences and Maxwell School. That being said, I'm not playing favorites tonight. I know we have a lot of students in the room who are from all different schools and colleges at Syracuse or who have been admitted to those schools and colleges. So this is a general session. Any student who comes to Syracuse can take advantage of our pre-law advising resources. And we want you to know now what those resources are so that you get off on the right foot in terms of taking advantage of them and you know what lies ahead for you at Syracuse. So to that end, we have two of our professional pre-law advisors, as well as a current student who has recently been accepted to law school to tell you what to expect while you're a Syracuse student. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Laura. She is our pre-law advisor. She is going to talk to you about some details. She will be going back and forth with Rachel. They are both really expert on this, so you should feel lucky to have a chance to connect with them tonight. And then Sydney, our student, will be popping in to chat with you as well. If you have questions during the session, do be sure to ask. That is why we are here. We do want to hear from you. So chat in your questions in the chat box. If we feel that your question is very niche or very personal, we'll just be chatting one-on-one with you during the session. If we feel that your question is one that many of you have, that will be the case tonight, then we will go ahead and publish your question, meaning that everyone will be able to see what you asked. And so do let us know if your question is one that you'd prefer to keep private. Some of the questions will be published and we'll answer them all during Q&A at the end of the session. So as your questions come to your mind, chat them in. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Laura.
Thank you very much, Rachel. So as Rachel said, my name is Laura McCardle. Struggling with my slides here. Caitlin, do you click the slides? I'm frozen. Okay, well, anyway, my name is Laura McCardle. I am the one of the pre-law advisors for current students. We also work with alumni. Although we are housed in the College of Arts and Sciences, like Rachel said, we work with all current students at Syracuse University and alumni that are interested in pursuing a legal education. So pre-law advising is myself, as well as Rachel Vines, who you'll hear from shortly. And then we also have Sydney with us, who is a pre-law student at Syracuse, graduating and moving forward with a legal education after graduation. So the first thing that I'll talk about is advising in general, pre-law advising at Syracuse and what that looks like. So we work with students one-on-one in a variety of capacities. So it's never too early to start working with us. We meet with students interested in law school during orientation weekend upon arrival at Syracuse. And that conversation gives an overview of things to consider when you're looking at law school, including hitting the ground running, starting strong academically, as well as finding ways to explore law and a legal education. So there's a difference between this idea of law and law school and what that can look like, and then finding ways to really explore and decide if this is something that you want to pursue. So we work with students on that exploration. We'll talk a little bit about experiential learning and internships. So we work with students to help identify and pursue opportunities outside the classroom. We also meet with students to discuss coursework and options that relate to their academics in consultation with their academic advisors. And then as time goes on and that interest is a little bit more solidified, we work with students on the preparation and application process. So that may be preparing a strategy for how to study for the LSAT, as well as working on law school applications with students. So whether that's reviewing personal statements, discussing how to approach faculty about letters of recommendation and fostering those relationships. Our one-on-one advising is really the bread and butter of what we do, and working on an individual basis with the students who are pursuing that legal education. And then the next major thing that pre-law advising does is our events. So we speak with students during orientation, like I mentioned, broadly about that interest. We have a variety of pre-law information sessions throughout the year. We also have workshops on how to prepare for the LSAT. We often partner with test prep companies in that to come in and kind of model what a prep course might look like. We also partner with our career services office in the fall for a graduate and law school fair. Last year we had over 60 law school admissions representatives present, which is a great opportunity for students to just get a flavor of the options that are out there. So it's never too early to attend one of those events. You don't necessarily need to be in the application process to be participating in that fair. It's a great option from day one to get a sense of what does this type of engagement look like with law admissions professionals, and even just walking through those first couple years, and then in the years closer to the application process, you become familiar with the process, with the environment, and then you can really target and pinpoint some of the law schools that you're interested in. So we have our law information fair. We bring in alumni and have career conversations based on their legal education and what their experience has been in the field. And then we also host Law Week in the fall, which is a week-long series of events every day, different subjects related to pursuing law school, whether it's applicant day, where we overview the application process and in great detail, how to finance legal education, LSAT workshop, alumni connections, and we have great partners in SU College of Law. We work with them often to bring in the admissions perspective from law school. So this past year during our Law Week, we brought students in for their open house, which is great. You can do a mock law class, talk to current students who are attending law school. So that's a great opportunity for us too, and they're great partners for us. So that's a little bit of an overview of our advising services, as well as the events that pre-law advising offers throughout the year. And next, to talk about a little bit more about skills that are important for a legal education and a little bit more about academics as it relates to pre-law advising, I'm going to throw it to Rachel Vines, my partner in pre-law advising. Can't hear you, Rach. You might be muted. Can you unmute?
Thank you so much. And thank you, Laura, for that introduction. And if you could just move forward with the arrow key on your keypad. I think we have a slide about that, but I believe the next thing we're going to be talking about are the skills that law schools are looking for. And so whenever it comes to law schools, there are actually no prerequisites needed in order to get into law school. But the ABA is looking for a certain skill set that is exhibited in lawyers, that is exercised within law school, and it's something that you are tested on in the LSAT. There are things like critical analytical reasoning skills, your written and oral skills, your ability to articulate yourself. And in thinking about that, there are so many different ways that you can explore this. Coursework is a great way of doing that. And you can, in thinking about like things like critical analytical skills, you can exercise those through, say, a calculus course or a math course or a natural science. And in thinking about that, you can start looking for connections, those think outside of the box things. Being able to articulate yourself, written and orally. In thinking about that and like things like your intensive writing skills, if you're looking at the liberal arts core, again, Rachel Skipper said at the beginning that we're not going to be biased toward arts and sciences students, but if you're thinking about like intensive writing type of courses, you can find those in many different disciplines. And so being able to articulate yourself and synthesize information is going to be so important, and present your arguments. So navigating information in a way that's effective, and exhibiting like your ability to organize your arguments is going to be so important. I already mentioned that there are no specific prerequisites for law school. Another thing just to know is that for law school, and I know it's so strange that we're talking about law now, but just as you're thinking about it throughout your undergraduate program, things like plugging into some kind of experience, whether it's internships, volunteer opportunities, research, you can explore your specific slant on law. And one neat thing that I like to think about is that law can be found in just about anything. We like to talk about this because, and like, even if I go outside, the fire hydrant right outside of my door, there are laws that surround that. Whenever you come on campus to the dining halls, there are laws that go into the preparation of your food. And so thinking about the specific things that draw you to law, since you can have any major, these skills can be exercised in any discipline. And so that idea said, the research that you do, if you are somebody who wants to engage in research during your undergraduate career, that's a great way of showing your analytical and problem solving skills in different slants. And the things that draw you to law likely draw you also to your major, even though those connections may not be fully formed for you yet. I also know that we work with people who are on a wide spectrum of their interest in law. Some people are kind of thinking about it. Some people are, I've wanted this since I was born. And so this is a great way to start engaging with coursework in a thoughtful way so that you can think about what draws you to law and then how you want to interact with that within not only your coursework, but within the opportunities that Syracuse University provides. And so in our next slide, we do have the liberal arts core. One of the reasons that we wanted to keep this up is because just kind of bringing continuity to skills and to the courses that you're going to be taking. If you are somebody who's coming to arts and sciences, these are the courses that you're going to be taking toward the core, but many schools and colleges have a type of core or courses that make you think more deeply, get into your subject matter a little bit more, or maybe even explore other subject matters. And so, like I was saying before, being able to navigate information, synthesize arguments, even though you're not, you may be taking courses that may directly pertain to law, and Laura's going to be talking about that here in a little bit. You can also be exercising these skills in a variety of ways. All right, and next Laura is going to be presenting. And Laura, I believe you're muted.
Thanks, Rach. Thank you for putting that so beautifully, always, in finding the law in everything, and the different ways that you can really grapple with that interest. And just to underscore what Rachel has already said, there's no prerequisite courses or requirements or required majors or minors for applying to law school. And that's something we really like to underscore. So the thought is not necessarily what would look good to law schools for what I should major in, rather, what are you genuinely interested in? What can you be truly successful in? What are you drawn to? And you'll be able to find your lens and your interest in law through that. So thank you, Rachel, for putting that so beautifully. Just a second. So knowledge for law school, we like to rely on a lot of the information put out by the American Bar Association, who accredits our various law schools. And Rachel already talked about the skills that are of significant importance for those interested in pursuing a legal education. And now we'll talk a little bit about the knowledge that is specifically emphasized. So I'll do a little bit of an overview here, and I've gone ahead and bolded some of the language that's associated with certain disciplines within Syracuse, specifically, so whether that be for majors or specific coursework. So a broad understanding of history is really critical for in order to successfully prepare for a legal education. And you'll hear from Sydney in a little while, who is actually a history major, so maybe she can talk a little bit about that perspective she's gained through that major. Social, political, economic, and cultural issues that have influenced the development of U.S. society. So through whether it's sociology, political science, economics, international relations, business, all these different categories and disciplines that can help prepare you and give you knowledge that will poise you for a successful transition to law school. Political thought, mathematical and financial skills, understanding of human behavior and social interaction. So again, psychology, anthropology, sociology, all communication, rhetoric, all these can help really allow you to analyze and hone your own skills and knowledge as it relates to human behavior and social interaction, and understanding of diverse cultures within and beyond the United States. So that, again, through coursework, but also through coming to such a diverse institution with people from all around the world, that in itself is giving you knowledge and experience that position you well for this type of future. Understanding of world events, international institutions and issues, and the understanding of our increased interdependence on each other. So all of these important perspectives to bring. So as far as gaining some experience and gaining some knowledge in some of those categories that we talked about, here are just a sample of courses with law content at Syracuse. I'll speak specifically to a couple of them. So Elements of Law, this course, LLA 201, it's designed for first and second year students. It was designed by a faculty member here at Syracuse who is an associate dean at our law school. And he's also a faculty member at the Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs. So he has this legal perspective, designed this course for first and second year students. LLA, the course prefix, stands for Law and the Liberal Arts. So the idea of this course is not so much Law 101, but look how you can see the law in everything, and it's a lens to then look at the rest of your education. So it's a wonderful course for an introduction to that content, but it's also great because it's held in the law school. Professor Bybee teaches the lectures. The recitations are hosted by current law students, so it's a great networking opportunity in that regard too. Some people have a network of lawyers that they know through friends and family. Others don't know a single person that's gone to law school, so being able to connect with someone who's experiencing that law school education now is a great opportunity. Constitutional Law 1 and 2, those courses are offered in the fall and the spring. Very popular among our pre-law students who are interested in getting a head start on some content that they'll experience more in law school. A variety of others here, so philosophy, our philosophy department, international relations, history, business, communication, entrepreneurship, sport management, a wide variety of law-focused courses within a variety of disciplines and a variety of colleges and schools within Syracuse. So I just had several meetings with students today to discuss their fall courses and their summer courses and what makes the most sense for them based on their interests. So there's more where this came from, but this is a nice sampling of the options that are available to students at Syracuse. And Rachel, I'm going to hand it back to you for the next slide.
Perfect, and I remembered to unmute that time. All right, so in thinking about how to really engage with your interest in law, there's been an initiative here at Syracuse University regarding experiential learning. And it's the idea that learning doesn't just happen within the classroom, it also happens outside of the classroom. And the whole heart of an education is to help you engage with disciplines that you may or may not be aware of, and start seeing how you fit with them, opening yourself up to the world of these different disciplines and how you interact with it, the connections that you make. And so the experiences or things that you're learning in the classroom can be very well complemented with the vast amount of opportunities outside of the classroom as well. Whenever it comes to directly engaging with peers who are also interested in pre-law, we have Phi Alpha Delta, which is our pre-law fraternity. Sometimes we have people ask if this is male only, since it says fraternity, and it is male and female, it is co-ed. And our office also works with them quite a bit, and it's wonderful to see students engage with each other regarding their interests, specifically regarding pre-law, and I know they're quite active in having conversations, speakers, and things like that. Study abroad is another wonderful experience, and sometimes it may be funny in thinking about, well, if I'm looking at a legal education in the United States, how would study abroad be something that would help connect me with the laws of the United States? And I've had many students study abroad and then start working, say, with an embassy or have an experience there, and then they can see how other governments work and then have an experience here where they can have more of a world view of how legal systems across the world work. We also work with students who are international and may want to practice law in another country once they're finished here. So that's something that we navigate as well. Another beautiful part of study abroad, we talked about skills and getting to know another culture, living and breathing within that other culture. Starts building that critical analytical skill set, the ability to articulate yourself with people in another language. Just think about all of the connections that you make with that. And so not just external to the United States, but we also have programs within the United States, like the Maxwell in Washington program, where we have students who go to Washington, D.C. And I know that Laura and I definitely work with students who are interested in maybe one day practicing in D.C. We have students who are interested in practicing in a variety of places, but sometimes it's, I really want to start advocating for this within DC and kind of start seeing the energy, seeing the way that things operate there. And so that's a wonderful opportunity. I know that students usually really enjoy that. Alumni networking. So we have a vast alumni network, and I know that our alumni are great about wanting to connect with current students. And so there are a variety of ways to link you with those opportunities. We also have like internship experiences where employers or alumni may come back to us and say, I would like a Syracuse University student for that. And we have a portal actually dedicated fully to that with so many different opportunities that just keep coming in. Immersion trips. So these are designed to have a population of students, so you're going to apply to it, and then say that you're interested in something specific like finance or business, and how that may link with like your interest in law. And so you would go to, say, the New York program, and then you would get to see companies. You would get to see people who are alumni from Syracuse University or CEOs of companies. Get to learn their story, get to see what they do day in and day out. And part of the beauty of internships and experiences is you get to see how the law lives and breathes. And that's one of the most exciting and rewarding parts of our job, I think, is connecting with people and then talking through what you see, how the law touches your interest. And we work with so many people with so many different interest sets that some people start knowing that they want law, and then they get deep into it that they find a niche. I have one person that I've been working with. She graduated and now she's working with the government and decided not to go with the JD. I have other people who graduate and then they're like, actually a JD fits perfectly. So I really like that Laura mentioned that we work with alumni as well. And it's the idea of no matter where your interest leads, your undergraduate education is a time for you to experience the world around you and see what's a fit for you. And we as advisors are here to help to provide that connective tissue between your experiences, your academic work, your interest. How do I engage in this? How do I really harness the opportunities around me? Because Syracuse University offers so many different opportunities, and it's always amazing to see how students engage with that and make so many different connections with it, really make it their own. And we're here to help you with that. Volunteer work, and I know that I already touched upon research, but volunteer work is another great way to navigate this. Sometimes people who we're helping throughout the process of applying to law school are like, I've only had a handful of jobs, or I've only had like 1 or 2 things that are paid. Experience. It's a holistic application. How did you put things together? What are you interested in? And so say you've been working with a food bank, or we have a large refugee population. Say you've been working with them and really became interested in a certain type of law. Law schools, like I said, are reviewing your application holistically. So pursuing those interests, as Laura said, the things that really draw you, start building an application that's true to you and will only highlight the things that really are congruent with you as you move forward. All right, and back to you, I believe, Laura.
Thank you, Rachel. I'm gonna just make a quick change here. You see my slides, Rachel? Law schools recently enrolled. Hold on a minute. There we go. Rachel, can you see those? Okay. So this is a sampling of law schools where we've had pre-law students recently enrolled in recent years. So just a couple things about this. Obviously, every year it changes. So we have students that are interested in specific geographic areas, specialties. Every year that evolves. We have a combination of current students who are applying to law school, as well as alumni that we have mentioned. Not everyone decides that applying immediately to law school is for them. Some believe they want some experience outside of academics for a few years, whether it's to save money, further explore, solidify their interest in studying law. So every year a little bit different, but these are some schools where we have had students apply, admitted, matriculate. American University, Cardozo, Columbia, Brooklyn, Fordham. We always have a huge contingency of New York City focused pre-law students. Harvard, George Washington, Seton Hall, Syracuse, St. John's. Like I said, just a sampling of the law schools where we've had students admitted and enroll. And again, this list will grow just based on what's happening this year. You'll hear from Sydney shortly. Rachel and I are continuing to work with students who are really in that exciting period right now of having just committed or finalizing their decisions. So this is a really fun time in our world and in part of this cycle. So this is a sampling, but we have thousands of alumni who have gone on to law school. So generally speaking, if I'm working with a student who's considering a school, we're typically able to successfully identify an alum of Syracuse who may have gone on to that law school. I was doing that recently with a student who was interested in UNC. That's near home for her. It's her dream school, and we found some alumni that she was able to successfully connect with and network with in order to learn more about their experience and how to make a competitive application. Oh goodness, let me try this one more time. So now I'm actually going to throw it over to Sydney. So Sydney is one of our pre-law students. She's a senior in her last semester at Syracuse. She's majoring in sociology and history. And Sydney was applying this fall to schools and has now been accepted to several schools and is in the final decision-making process. So Sydney, we'd love to hear from you. I would say, maybe if you don't mind speaking a little bit about your majors, but also the law school application process.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm a history and sociology major, and those majors have been absolutely fantastic for me to get a little bit of legal experience. And I feel like a lot of people don't really think of those majors, like you said, like they are definitely so helpful. I've taken a bunch of sociology classes that are about crime and society and the legal system and how it kind of interacts with society. And then for history, I'm an American history major, so I've been taking a ton of classes this whole time about American legal history. And I'm currently doing a distinction thesis for the history department on the criminality of birth control. So I've been able to really bring my major and produce this research project. It's a year-long project. And I got to go through a lot of legal documents. I went to DC to look at documents from the Library of Congress. So that's been really beneficial for me preparing for law school. So I'm interested in criminal law. So I pretty much didn't really have to look at specific schools for that for my application process, but I took my first LSAT in July. I'm not sure if anybody knows or was aware, but that was the one that they let you cancel your score without anybody seeing it. It was like a once in a lifetime thing that they've done. So I did that, and then I took it again in the fall, and then ended up sending my application in January to all the various schools. And I worked really closely with Laura on my application. She went through my personal statement a couple times, and she was really awesome for that. And we kind of went through my resume and what I was looking for in a law school. And even through the admissions process, she's been here to help me make my mind up, because it is kind of stressful when you're finally getting all these admissions decisions. So I really adore the pre-law office. It's very welcoming, and it's a really great resource that Syracuse offers. Did I touch on everything you guys wanted me to?
Lovely. Yeah, so maybe now I will close out the screen and we can take some of your questions. Let's see. Okay, percentage of applicants accepted to law school. Excellent question. So just to speak to what I said earlier, every year is a little bit different, obviously, depends on the applicants and who's applying. But I would say that in our most recent cycles numbers, about 75% of all Syracuse affiliated applicants are accepted to at least one law school. So that's current students, that's alumni, that's students with a 2.0 GPA that decide they must apply, and our students that, you know, really excel academically. So that's a pretty good acceptance rate. It's about the national average. So that puts our students in a pretty good position. If you look closer at students with GPAs over a certain point, like students with a GPA of 3.5 or higher, that increases by about an additional 10%. So that's a little bit about our acceptance into law schools. And
perfect. And I can take the next one, Laura.
Yeah, great.
Awesome. So I see the next question in queue is that, are there internships available across all 4 years, or are there any prerequisites? And I think that that's an awesome question. One of the goals that we have, a big goal that we have, is making sure that you take full advantage of your time here at Syracuse University. And say you're starting as a first-year student, fresh out of high school. Many times, as we are also academic advisors, we see that the acclimation to, another advisor said this and I absolutely love saying it, acclimation to college life can be like a 3-credit course in and of itself. Because we find that students are coming from high school where they're often, they have things kind of sorted out for them, whereas in college you have syllabi that are given to you, and so things like time management become very important, and working with your advisor is helpful in getting to know the routine, ways to navigate college, and things like that. So as far as settling in to college life, many times we find that students may wait until sophomore year to start engaging in internship opportunities, but that doesn't mean they're not available, and you can certainly engage in them prior to that. But I think that it's wise to talk about this more with your advisor. Because like I started out with, it's more about really engaging and making the most of this experience and setting a solid foundation before you move forward and adding something like an internship to the academic work. is only going to set a very firm foundation. I did not mean for that to sound like it was being evasive. There are internships available to any year. It depends on the internship. So you have to think about the wide number of internships out there and the things that you may want to engage in. And so as far as prerequisites or what years they take, that is very much so dependent on the internship site, but we're more than happy to help navigate that process with you, find things that are a fit. And if you are somebody in that first year who's already ready to go, we can definitely have that conversation with you about finding internships that are a fit.
Well put, Rachel. Okay, so the next question, what aspects of law are introduced in the music industry major, and is it worthwhile for someone interested in entertainment law? So all students in that program have to take a law and ethics course, which is common within a lot of our professional majors and programs. So Newhouse has required communication law courses, sport law for certain majors within that industry, same with music industry. So a lot of, and even our business school students have required law course as well. So you will find this incorporated into a lot of majors, and in fact, having it required for a lot of those majors, which just, which is nice. So you're going into your industry with knowledge, regardless of whether you're going in for a specific specialty or interest in law. So those do exist. But then outside of course requirements, there are a variety of potential elective courses for delving deeper into certain aspects of law if you're interested, or focusing again on honing some of those specific skills. I was just speaking with a student today who was looking at a public speaking course or a logic course within our philosophy department, which is helpful when preparing for the LSAT. So there's a wide variety, but to answer the question, yes, there is a course within that specific major to help with that knowledge.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Laura.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. That's awesome, Laura. Thank you. The next question I see in there, are there many internships in California? I was excited about this question. I'll start more just up front with California. Yes, long story short, I've directly worked with students who are from California or would like to go to California. We even have programs like Newhouse has a program in LA, and we have a lot of opportunities in California. However, hopefully you've been catching on to the idea that we hope to customize the experience so that it's congruent with the things that are what you are looking for. And so say you're somebody who wants to, ultimately practice or feel out what California looks like within the legal system or within a certain industry. Something that we would work with you on is there a specific area in California that you would want to be located? What specific industries are you looking at? And we would help you navigate and filter all of that down to find something that's a good fit for you. So hopefully that answered the question if there are internships in California, but also for people outside of that, how we navigate it.
Nice. I'll take the next question, and I'm going to combine two questions. So one of the questions was, do you offer any resources or preparation for the LSAT? And then, is the LSAT a requirement? So, and Sydney, I'm going to pull you in on this one too. So just in case anyone's unfamiliar, we say LSAT, it's the law school admissions test. So traditionally, historically, all law schools require you to take this test, and that score is part of your application, somewhat similar to the SAT and ACT option for colleges, although the content is fundamentally different. So it is required by most law schools. I'm hedging that because within recent years, law schools, not all, but some have begun accepting the GRE, which is a broader graduate school admissions test. It's not as commonly and widely used. The LSAT is still the gold standard for law school admission, but there are some alternatives in some cases. But generally, I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, generally the LSAT is required. And then preparation. So the resources that we recommend and bring in include the LSAT workshops that we offer, usually at least one a semester. We generally recommend some of the most cost-effective resources for our students, so that's attainable and accessible to anyone who's interested in pursuing law school. So the Law School Admissions Council provides a free LSAT prep course, which we highly recommend to our students. And we're always looking at partnerships to offer discounts for students to prep courses, which are very expensive and not the only way to study, but it is one option. Sydney, would you mind speaking a little bit about how you prepared for the LSAT?
Yeah, of course. So first I want to say that through the liberal arts core, I learned a lot with the logic part from the philosophy department. I was taking some of those classes and I was trying to decide what major I wanted, even though I knew I wanted to go to law school. So even though I took those classes like freshman, sophomore year, I kept the notes because I knew that that would be really important. So even just logic basics that you would have to read in a book, I had my own notes for. So I really appreciated that with the liberal arts core at Syracuse. And then I did the LSAC free course through Khan Academy, I believe. And I really liked that because you can really tailor your studying. And I know that I'm a total self-studier. If I went to a class that just wouldn't work for me, I've had friends that the class worked really well for them. So it kind of is just figuring out what's best for you, how you learn best, and going from there. And then I had some of the law school, the LSAT test prep books. Those were helpful too. So I tried a bunch of different methods. I really did like Khan Academy. It lets you go through and it picks out what you're best at and what you're worst at. And you can practice however long that you want. So yeah, those are what I used. And I recommend studying earlier rather than later so you don't overwhelm yourself. But I know a lot of you are freshly admitted, so you don't have to worry about that quite yet.
Thank you, Sydney.
Of course.
Let's see. So the Maxwell and Washington program, during what semesters would you recommend to participate in study abroad or Maxwell and Washington? Okay, I thought this was asking one question, but I think it's asking another. So to specify, the Maxwell and Washington program is available both spring and summer semesters. There's not a summer session for that. That's not to say we don't have students that don't spend summers in DC, but usually it's a little bit more self-guided, whereas the Maxwell and Washington program is a full semester long opportunity with coursework and an internship and an amazing network of alumni and faculty and staff down there to support our students. And then study abroad, we have options over summer, fall, and spring semesters. But I think the nature of the question is more when during the course of my academic career is a good time to go. I'd say the answer to that is different for everyone. Junior year is very common, I would say, but it is not by any means the only way to do it. I have had students who have studied abroad earlier in their sophomore year, later in their senior year. It's a conversation to have with your academic advisor and our study abroad office to decide what's best for you. I would say most commonly junior year, but yeah, that's not it's not an absolute rule. Sydney, did you have any study abroad experience? I can't remember.
I didn't, but one of my best friends did the Maxwell in Washington, and she did it spring junior year. And she had a really great internship, and she liked that it was junior year because she had the 2.5 years of experience in school to kind of build up to that internship, so it made her a lot less nervous. So that's why she picked that timing.
Nice. Okay, let's look at some of the other questions here. Pursuing law in business, what do you recommend if I would like to pursue law in business? So I suppose I would say it makes sense to look a little bit at some of our business and management related coursework and majors and minors. So definitely consider that. So Women gives a great foundation for a pretty diverse array of things as it relates to business. So even though you have your specific major, There are other core required courses that give you a really well-rounded perspective for business. There is at least one required law course within the School of Management, but there are some additional options that focus more on the business angle of law. But I would say that it's helpful to then step outside into other disciplines so you have a variety of perspectives. So take advantage of all that your school or college and major has to offer, but then as your schedule allows, stepping outside of that so you have different perspectives that you can bring to that business law angle. And it's all about exploration. And internships are critical too. There's so many great internships, and our school management students pursue a wide variety. And I recently spoke with a student, I believe was marketing and finance, had kind of an entertainment focused internship with a media company and focused on strategic partnerships, and found so much interest in law through that experience. So the coursework and internships, I would say, are huge for that.
And I can go forward with the military law.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right. So the next question in queue is are there pathways in place for those inquiring about studying military law? And if so, what are they? So we've had a variety of students say you're ROTC and interested in law, or say you're interested in going into JAG, or say you're interested in working with the FBI. We've had interest in a variety of capacities. And so I'll go more the JAG route because that's kind of what I'm feeling from this one. But something that you may have been noticing is that there is no one specific path. And that may be a little bit strange, especially if you're thinking about military, because you may think specific path. But especially at the undergraduate level, it's about getting an idea of breadth, what's around you, and how to think critically. And I can't underscore that enough. Law school is the time whenever you study specific information as to how to practice law. And that's why the application process is holistic, to get an idea of who you are. It's good if you already have this interest. One of my majors is history, and so I see a lot of people who are veterans or in ROTC, and so JAGs come up. We have people who do internships with the FBI, but whatever your specific slant is, there is no route specifically required to get there. And that's part of the beauty of law, is that you can find it in so many different ways, even military law. And so that's something that even if you already have an idea of where you want to pursue this interest, we can definitely help get you there. But then also looking around you during your undergraduate education, there are so many different resources for military. If you're a veteran, we have an amazing veterans office. Or if you're thinking about being commissioned right after, we have students who are doing that. I have somebody who went into the police force and may be going, more military law later. And so just knowing that there are many different paths there, it's not meant to be evasive. It's more meant to illustrate to you how many students we've worked with that take a variety of paths, even if they get to a similar destination. The beauty's in the journey. And so even if you are interested in military law, I like to say, let's talk. If you have a specific interest, we'll link you with it. We also work with the DA's office. And so if you want to start there, there are so many ways to get into this. So just reach out.
Thank you, Rachel. So for time's sake, we're going to wrap up. I know there's a few more questions in the queue, so I would urge you, if your question wasn't answered, to shoot us an email, prelaw@syr.edu. There's questions about California schools, more about the LSAT. We're happy to answer those questions, so feel free to reach out to that email, prelaw@syr.edu. Rachel and I monitor that. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Sydney. It was great to talk to all of you and answer some of your questions. So we look forward to hopefully seeing you at Syracuse soon. Thank you.